The next one was... Hi everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy. The September's TBR. So I'm back! I hope you enjoyed the hubby last month. Sounds like you guys did. He might be showing back up sometime soon. Just heads up, you guys enjoyed that so much. And it was very easy on me, so I very much appreciate him doing that. But we are here with a brand new month, September. So in September, I have one readathon plan, and that is Bookoplathon. But I'm doing something a little bit differently. So I'll leave the announcement video down below, but the idea behind Bookoplathon is it's Becca from Becca the Books. It's her TBR game that she's made into a month-long readathon. Usually in the past, I will roll like 5 or 6 rolls like she normally does at the beginning of the month and work with them that way. This one I'm going to do something a little bit differently, and I'm going to roll as I go. And just hope that all of the books that I have in this video will fit the readathon. I will be vlogging the whole thing, so look forward to those if you like weekly vlogs. I have many of those coming your way. And in those, I will like actually roll as I go, and you can see the prompts that I get. But we're just doing a normal TBR this month as far as this video goes, nothing too crazy. So let's take a look at how August went. I have this little stack of books here, and I did decently. So first we have Stars of Fortune by Nora Roberts, which was a romance. The next one was The Monarchs by Cass Morgan and Daniel Page, which was a book that came out this year. The next one was the second volume of Lore Olympus, which was to read a hyped book. The next one was One Dance with a Duke by Tessa Dare, which was to read a buddy read. The next one was a book that you'll learn from, and I had one thing in and I might change it around, but that was I Am Spock, which is by Leonard Nimoy. Then we've got a book with a POC author or main character, and so I have The Emma Project by Sonalia Dev. We have a free read, which is a new one this year, and it's literally just like a free space. You can read whatever you want. So I picked Wicked Beauty by Katie Robert. And the last one was an A to Z book, which was a random letter generator, which I think he got A, and that is All of the Above by Shelby Pearson. So this stack's about to look scary, but I have ideas. So I've got these 4 plus my nonfiction book, and as of recording this, which I am recording in about a week in advance, I am waiting to the last minute to do everything, but I have to film this earlier than I want to, so things are going to get done. So I am currently in the middle of Wicked Beauty by Katie Robert, so I'll be able to finish that one by the end of the month, and then I will have time to fit Star of Fortune in as well, so I won't be taking a punishment for either of those. And then I have hopes, this was a buddy read, which we haven't started, but I think we will start before the end of the month. If not, oh well, it's just going to roll over to next month. And then I also like I Am Spock, like I mentioned. I think I'll be able to start it by the end of the month. I'm not sure I'll finish it, but I think I'll be able to start it. And I'm not sure if I'm going to do this one. I've got a book out from the library instead that's really interesting to me, so I might switch which nonfiction I'm doing, but a nonfiction will be started by the end of the month, which leaves All of the Above, which I have not started, and I don't think I'm going to have any time to start. So I'm going to take one punishment. I know that was a lot of like guessing on my part, so stay around for like the vlogs. If I have to add more punishments, I'll mention them in the first vlog, but I think I can get away with just one. So let's get into the prompts. Pick number 1. Read a book released last year. So the very first prompt is a book that was released last year, aka 2021, which is perfect because I have a general TBR for fall, which I will be sharing with you guys a little bit later this month. But I've got some things on there that I got a couple on last month, or at least I got one thing last month, so I'm trying to pepper them in over the next few months. And the next one is one of those, and that is Anatomy, a Love Story by Dana Schwartz. This was a gift from my lovely hubby. He got this for me because the author is the fiance of someone who's on James Corden's show, one of his producers, and Chris loves that show. So he gifted this one to me. It's giving me a lot of the like, oh, what's that series? Jack the Ripper vibes, but it did come out in 2021, so it does count. This is a very interesting story. I did find out that there is going to be a sequel coming out, so I'm really hoping to get to this one this year so that when the sequel does come out, I will have at least started the series and be better at that. But the idea behind this story is that it follows our two main characters. One of them is Hazel, and she really, really wants to be part of the Royal Edinburgh Autonomist Society. But because she's a woman, they, like, of course, won't let her do anything. But there is one of the guys who's giving the test, basically says, if you pass this test, then you can be a doctor or whatever, like, you can, like, you're accepted, but you can't come to any of the classes for it. So she teams up with this guy named Jack, and his job is to basically dig up corpses. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if we're getting, like, a Frankenstein vibe going on here, but, like, his thing is dealing with corpses, and so, like, they team up together so that she can study said corpses. I've heard it's not super happy. It's kind of gross. So we'll see how my very squeamish, when it comes to medical stuff, it's gonna go. But I am interested to see how it goes. So I have high hopes. I'm hoping it'll be great. I am really excited, but it's giving me those, like, fall spooky vibes. So I'm trying to get to it in, like, the earlier part of fall when, like, the spooky season is what I want. So yeah, I'm just really happy that I'm actually able to read a book that the husband bought me, because I am very bad at doing that. I never actually read when I'm supposed to, so yay! Number 2. Read a hyped book everyone is talking about. So the next book is to read a book that everyone is talking about, or a hyped book. And I had a hard time with this because I wanted something spooky, you know, but I didn't want, like, horror or scary or anything like that. But I want something that felt very fall. But I think I've narrowed it down to what I really, really want to read, and that is A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the second book in the Blood and Ash series. I read the first one earlier this year. I believe it was April maybe, and adored it, and just haven't had time to get to, like, the rest of the series. I have had this one on a few TBRs at this point, so I'm really hoping to get to it. I do have the audiobooks of these, and I've loved them so much, and it was such a big cliffhanger at the end of the first one. I can't believe I haven't continued, so I'm really hoping to get to this one. The idea behind this one, or at least this series, I'm sure many people have heard of it, but it follows a girl named Poppy, who is thought of as, like, the maiden, and she's going to be given to the gods in some way, but she has to be kept very pure. So, like, wears white, face covered, no one knows who she is, all that kind of stuff. And of course that doesn't sit well with her. And so she ends up getting a new guard named Hawk, who really changes her world all over the place, and things happen. So yes, I'm really hoping to get to the second one in this. I've got the first 3 at this point, but I'd love to continue collecting more, but I feel weird collecting more if I haven't read, like, at least the second one at this point. So yeah, I'm very hopeful. Number 3. Read a middle grade. The next book is just to read a middle grade, which is great because, as many of you know, I have goals every single month to read 1 middle grade and 1 non-fiction. So for this month's middle grade, I have gone with the 5th book in the Arusha series by Roshni Chokshi. This basically follows Arusha, and in the very first book, she ends up waking up this, like, ancient sleeping god and has to, like, go on an adventure to figure out how to stop the events that she's put in motion. And it's much bigger than that at this point, obviously, with the 5th book. But this is supposed to be the last book in the series, and I have been putting it off because even though I had a very big cliffhanger at the end of the 4th one, I, don't really want to see this series end. I kind of love these characters. But we've got 1 final book, and I need to do it. So I do have this one out from my library. I'm very excited about it, and hopefully I will be able to finish another series. I've been doing pretty good here recently, so fingers crossed I actually get to this one. I'm so excited and nervous, but excited. Number 4. Read a YA book. Oh my. So the next prompt is to read a YA book, which, if my calculations are correct, we got in June, so we have to add a prompt at the end of another prompt at the end of this. But the one that I'm going to go with for this prompt is Being Mary Bennett, and this is by J.C. Peterson. I got this one, I think it was in July, I think. I got it relatively recently, and there's something about it that's giving me the fall vibes, and I don't really have any reason as to why. So I thought I'd read it in September, which is a good kind of like almost fall, like half of the month is fall, half the month is not. This will be good even if it's fall or not. But the idea behind this book is that we follow our main character, Marnie, and she is convinced that she is the main character of her story, and then some events happen and she realizes that actually no, she's not the Lizzie Bennet, the main character, she is the Mary Bennet, which is the middle sister and the least remembered sister of all of the Bennet sisters. And so she like strives to not be Mary Bennet anymore. So it's got its like Pride and Prejudice hints. It's not a retelling by any stretch of the imagination, but it is got its like hints to Pride and Prejudice, which I am excited about. And I do think there's going to be a romance in here. Obviously, it is YA, though I'm not sure how old our main character is because it talks about a roommate. And I know I've said this before, but in my head, roommate means that you were either in college or you have graduated. So I'm not sure if it's like a different situation than that. But either way, according to Goodreads, this is YA, and I am very excited for all the coziness and for a fun, good contemporary. And it's somewhat based on Jane Austen. So, like, it's gonna be good one way or the other. Number 5. Read a book about or featuring books. So the next book is to read a book about or featuring books, which I am now, having had this prompt a few times, running out of things to put on this list. But I just got a book from my Unplugged box in July that I think will work perfectly. It's got some of the spooky vibes, so we're at least also trying to be within fall as well. And that is The Woman in the Library, and this is by Sulari Gentile. And the idea behind this is it's kind of like a murder mystery set in a library. So, books, clearly. I'm very excited. So it follows this group that's in the reading room at the Boston Public Library, and all of a sudden the quiet, the tranquil studying that's happening is interrupted by a scream. And so the bodyguard, or like the security guard at this library, basically keeps everyone in their place while they're trying to figure out what the heck is going on. So these 5 strangers are stuck in this room alone with each other, and they're just kind of sharing stories. But it says at the bottom that like one of them might be the murderer, or a murderer, which makes me think that the woman who screamed is dead, and also like one of the people in this room killed them. So giving me those murder mysteries, almost spooky, very thriller vibes, and it's set at a library. I mean, this sounds amazing. So I'm gonna hopefully get to this one. I'm really bad at reading my books that I get in subscription boxes, so I'm very excited I was able to fit this one on this month. Number 6. Okay, here we go. Book out of your comfort zone. Next one is to read a book out of your comfort zone. So for this one, I'm going to read one of the books that's on my list of books to read by the end of the year. I don't actually know if I'm going to be able to finish that list, but we're going to try nonetheless. And that is The Ghosts We Keep by Mason Deaver. Now, this is the author that wrote I Wish You All the Best, which I adored that book. I thought it was amazing. I believe it's their debut novel as well. And this was the most recent one that came out last year. It does deal with grief and death. And that's why I'm saying it's out of my comfort zone, because I do like reading about darker subjects, and like, not darker subjects, but like harder topics and things like that. But grief and death is not my favorite thing to read about. So like, while I love the idea of this book, maybe not the idea about this book, but I'm very excited about this book because of the author, I'm nervous because it deals with grief and death. So this book basically follows this kid named Liam Cooper, and his older brother is suddenly killed in a hit-and-run accident. And so it's Liam kind of like dealing with this grief and everything that's going on as he becomes closer with his brother's best friend, Marcus. I don't know if there's going to be a romance between the two of them. It's kind of hinting that way, but it does deal with that grief and these two people coming together about grief. It's giving me vibes of Who I Was with Her, which I adored that book so much. So I have high hopes, but it's still out of my comfort zone. But we're gonna give it a try because I love this author. So that's my out of comfort zone book, in a sense. Number 7. Here we go. Oh my, what happened here? Okay, read a book with a light cover. So the next book is to read a book with a light cover, and as I'm looking at this cover, it's not as light as I think it should be. but it's got lightness to it, so we're gonna go with it because I really want to get it on because it's my nonfiction book, and oh my gosh, this title is ridiculous, but it's Playing With Myself by Randy Rainbow. We literally got this in the mail like 2 weeks ago, maybe. This is Randy's new, actually I'm not sure, it might be his very first memoir of sorts. I love Randy Rainbow's stuff. Chris is the reason I started watching him because Chris really likes his stuff as well. So we got this book mainly for Chris, but I also wanted to read it. And it's just his, you know, his memoir. But because he's got so many costumes that have like white elements to it, I'm gonna count this as a light cover, even though it's probably more dark than light. Looks like I want to make it fit. But I think this is going to be super, super interesting. I did find the audiobook from the library, so I think it's also narrated by him, which you guys know is my favorite way to read a biography or an autobiography or memoir of sorts. It is not very long by any stretch of the imagination, but it's all about the funness of YouTube and showbiz and stuff like that, and that is right up my alley. So I'm very excited about this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I heard him talking about this with a Jimmy Kimmel, I think, and that's really what got my attention. And so, oh, I just think it's going to be so fun. So, am I cheating? Maybe a little bit, but it's my game, so I say that I can. Number 8. A Philippa Gregory book. The next one is another one that I've already had in June, so we're adding another prompt onto the end of this list. Oh my gosh, please don't get any longer. And that is a Philippa Gregory book. So I toyed with which one I wanted to do for this one, because the next one, as far as where I am in my series, is the one that I've actually read before. So I thought about skipping it, but I've decided that I want to go ahead and just reread it to like get it into that, like, so it's in the series as well, but also to see if I still love it as much as I did the first time. And that is The Queen's Fool by Philippa Gregory. So this one is basically this little Jewish girl who gets roped in to being a fool for the court, and in this story she goes back and forth. It's after the King Henry dies, and so it's at that time when Mary's in power and then Elizabeth is trying to get power, and so it's the two of them kind of like fighting. But this main character, I believe her name is Hannah, yes, she is basically at a time where the Inquisition is out to get people, and the fact that she is not really a Christian is not great. And so it's her, but she also meets both Mary and Elizabeth, so she sees both courts, if you will. And I just remember really enjoying it. I loved Philippa Gregory's writing style, so I'm rereading it in the hopes that I will love it just as much as the first one, but I don't want to like forget anything. If there's anything in this story that like sparks something now that I've had the entire backstory of like the Tudors and the Plantagenets leading up to this, I think it would be really fun to just dive into a book that I've already enjoyed. So I'm putting a reread on here. I'm very excited about it. But yeah, this is my Philippa Gregory book. Number 9. Oh, we're gonna 6. Okay. Read a cover by. So next one is to read a cover by book, and I felt only appropriate to have this one, and that is Heart of the Raven Prince by Tessonia Odette. This is part of her Entangled with Fae series. This one specifically is a Cinderella retelling. I read the first one, and the first one only. Now there are 4. I now have 4 at this point in this series, and they're all standalone, so you don't have to read them. You don't have to read them in any order. You only have to like read the ones that you're interested in, and they're all based on some sort of fairy tale in some way, and I just really want to read them in order because I enjoyed the first one so much. But this cover is, first off, beautiful, but also illustrated by the author, which I love. So you've got a beautiful cover. It is also a beautiful back of the book as well, but the physical book itself has beautiful art on it that is, again, illustrated by the author, and all of the books in the series are like that. I got these very pretty editions that are actually signed by the author because I bought them from her Etsy, which just makes me so happy because I know that the money is going directly to her. But the idea of this book is you've got a girl who's half fae, her name is Ember, and then you've got the heir of the crown, Prince Franco, and she is trying to get away, I believe, from her family. I think it's not the best family. She's just trying to get away. And then you've also got Prince Franco, who is supposed to marry a princess, and so they strike up a bargain. So she has to pretend to be a princess. He kind of like glamours her, I believe, to make her look like a princess, and it's supposed to like fool everyone so that like all of the everyone else like leaves him alone and he can like pretend to be courted by her, which clearly is going to work so well. They're obviously going to fall for each other. But this is a very fun new adult series. Like I said, I've read the very first one. That one was based on Beauty and the Beast. Absolutely adored it. So I really need to continue with this series. This book specifically has been on like 3 TBRs in the past like 4 months or so. So hopefully I can actually get to it this month. But I was taken in by the covers and like purchased as many as I could before I'd even read one. So thank goodness I like it, because that would have sucked a whole lot. But I love them. They're so fun. So yes, for sure a cover buy. All right, extra pull, number 10. There we go. Read a book Read a book by an author you gave 5 stars to. The next one is to read a book by an author that you've already given 5 stars to. So for this one, I'm going to go with My Imaginary Mary by the Lady Janies, who are Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows. This is the second in the Mary series. They did the Janies series many years ago, and I have given at least a couple books in that series 5 stars. So I really enjoyed it. They basically like take people from literature and people from like actual real life people and just kind of give them a new history. This follows a couple of characters, the first one being Mary Shelley before she is Mary Shelley, aka the author of Frankenstein. So she's just waiting for like a good new idea to come to her. And then we've got Ada Lovelace, who is the daughter of Lord Byron, a very famous poet. But she's really into like mechanics and things like that. And the two of them team up and find out that they are maybe not all human, because there's got to be something magical going on here. And they create what is called Pan, a practical automaton #1. And it's like basically an AI. And so there's like a mad scientist out to get the two of them to try to figure out how they made this guy alive. And so it's kind of Frankenstein-esque, but with like a machine element to it. I don't know. It sounds really good. I always enjoy their books. They're not always my favorite, depending on like where they're set, because there was definitely a Western one that was not my favorite. But I always find their books so interesting and how funny their writing is, so I'm very excited to dive into their most recent one that came out only a few months ago. And last prompt, number 11. Oh, for goodness sakes, okay. Read a book with a tagline. And finally, we have made it to the end of this list, and that is a book with a tagline. So I'm going to go with These Hollow Vows by Lexi Ryan, and up here it says, "A heart is a dangerous thing to steal." This is my very beautiful Fairy Loot one that came out, I think this was my very first like Fairy Loot, to be honest. It came out last fall, and it's giving me the fall vibes, you know? So I thought I'd try to get it on for one of these TBRs, but it's the first in a series, and I've heard good things. I've heard if you like Akatar, you'll like it. So in this book, we follow our main character, Bree, whose sister was kidnapped by the king of the Unseelie Court. So she makes a deal with him to get 3 magical relics from the rival Seelie Court. And so I think she has to like infiltrate that court, and she proposes as a potential bride for that prince, but I think there's going to be, of course, some things between her and this prince, and then it sounds like there's going to be a band of Unseelie misfits that are also playing into the mix, and maybe the leader of that will be one that is interesting to her. But it's giving me like fairy kind of vibes. I'm very excited about it. It sounds very fun and fantastical. I just love things about fairies and fae and elves and all of the like. So we're going to get to this one hopefully in September, and fingers crossed that it goes well. And that's it. Those are the books from this TBR that I'm hoping to get to in September. With the amount of, you know, books I had to add on to this list, we'll see how that goes, especially with the Bookoplathon rolls, which I'm sure will not be any help at all. So, let's see what happens here. I do have like some other buddy reads and stuff that might be happening during the month, so I'll add those as we go, but this is the main plan. I got the ones that I really wanted to get on this TBR, so I hope it goes well. Stay tuned for my vlogs to find out how screwed I am. But as always, please let me know if you've read any of the books that I mentioned in today's video. I would love to know your thoughts on them, or something that you are planning on reading for September. Are you doing any readathons? share your thoughts down below. But if you like this video, and I very much hope that you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you'd like to be part of this awesome growing family. I've also got all my social media down there as well as other fun bookish links, so don't forget to check all of that out, and I will see you guys in my next video.